Did you know that one of the most enigmatic and controversial prophecies in modern history has to do with the fate of the world, and that, surprisingly, Mexico could be at the center of its fulfillment? The third prophecy of Fatima, revealed in 1917 and kept secret for decades, foretold events that now seem to be taking shape. Recent crises and natural events that have shaken Mexico have led some to ask, is it possible that we are witnessing the fulfillment of this prophecy? Could Mexico, a nation with strong spiritual roots, be experiencing the first signs of a greater warning? And more importantly, what can we do about the possibility that this prophecy is being fulfilled in our time? If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. The answer is clear. It's an urgent call to prayer, conversion, and the pursuit of greater spiritual understanding. Ignoring the signs could have devastating consequences, not only for Mexico, but for the whole world. Now, going back to the events that began in 1917, when Our Lady of Fatima appeared to 3 children in Portugal, 3 crucial secrets were revealed. Of these, the third was the most alarming, for it described a future full of chaos and suffering, not only for the Church, but also for humanity. Although the first 2 secrets were quickly revealed, the third was kept hidden by the Church until the year 2000. For nearly 40 years, this mystery fueled theories and speculation about what it really contained. What we do know is that this third secret describes a vision of destruction and persecution, where the Pope, along with other religious, are killed. Many interpret this as a harbinger of crisis within the Church, but others suggest that it may also be related to global events that would affect entire nations, such as Mexico. The coincidence of recent tragedies in Mexico, both natural and social, with what could be the fulfillment of this prophecy, has led many to be on alert. Are we really on the verge of a great spiritual purification? The signs seem to suggest so, and the importance of prayer and conversion is more urgent than ever. In the revelation of her, the third secret, there is not only a disturbing vision of the future, but also a shocking warning of a spiritual crisis that threatens to destabilize societies. What we are seeing today in Mexico could be an early manifestation of that warning as the country undergoes an unprecedented cultural and moral transformation. A country that for centuries was a bastion of the Catholic faith is seeing traditional values and beliefs rapidly eroding. Since Our Lady's apparition at Fatima in 1917, it was predicted that if humanity did not turn to God, it would face great suffering. Now, more than a century later, it is evident that many of the warnings are materializing. In Mexico, participation in religious rituals has declined dramatically, especially among the young. Those who once filled churches and participated in processions today seem to be distancing themselves from spirituality, leaving a void that only materialism and modern culture seem to fill. As the distancing from spirituality continues to grow, especially among the young, many feel lost, searching for answers in a world dominated by materialism. In these uncertain times, regaining a connection to the divine may be the key to filling that void and finding a remarkable purpose. This is exactly what the secret of Jesus' apparitions offers, a path to clarity and peace through his revelations. This ebook delves into his prophecies and offers a glimpse of what lies ahead. It is available for free at the commentary set. Grab it now before editions run out. The growing acceptance of morally complex issues, such as abortion and euthanasia, along with the legalization of same-sex marriages, are symptoms of a moral crisis that has taken root not only in Mexico, but throughout the world. This is precisely the spiritual crisis that Our Lady of Fatima warned of, a time when faith would be challenged and many would turn away from God. However, the prophecy was not only a warning of dark times, but also an urgent call to conversion and repentance. Our Lady made it clear that through prayer, penance, and a return to divine principles, humanity could avoid the worst. But the question remains, are we heeding this call? What is happening in Mexico could be just the beginning, a harbinger of a greater purification that could spread to other nations. So, as the world watches the changes there, it is essential that we do not overlook the signs. We are at a crucial point in history where spirituality and morality are at stake, and it is our response that will determine the future. Is Mexico and the world in time to stop the course of this prophecy? Since Our Lady's initial warnings at Fatima, humanity has been alerted to the great trials we would face if we turned away from faith and God. Today, that turning away seems to be occurring at an alarming rate, and the signs of a global spiritual crisis, with Mexico at the epicenter, cannot be ignored. What is happening there, with the weakening of faith and growing tensions within the Church, could be just the beginning of a wider period of tribulations. Spiritual estrangement, as we have seen, not only affects people's relationship with religion, but also impacts morality, values, and social cohesion. This spiritual vacuum allows chaos and confusion to seep into all levels of society, leaving people without a sense of direction and vulnerable to destructive influences. What is at stake here is not just a religious crisis, but a disintegration of the principles that have held communities together for generations. Mexico, a historically devout country, is seeing its spiritual heritage weaken with each passing generation. This decline is most evident in the decline of church participation, especially among young people. But this is not just a social phenomenon. It is a warning of what may be to come on a global level. If Mexico, with its Catholic roots, is experiencing this spiritual collapse, what can we expect for the rest of the world? As we reflect on the growing drift away from the faith, remember that you can really learn the divine message by downloading the free ebook. Copies are limited, so don't let this opportunity pass you by. Our Lady of Fatima warned not only about the drift away from the faith, but also about turbulence within the Church itself. In this regard, Mexico is again a key point, as recent scandals have shaken the confidence of the faithful in the religious institution. Once a spiritual fortress, it now faces an internal crisis that mirrors the same Fatima prophecy. A divided church struggling to maintain its authority and relevance in an increasingly secular world. The third Fatima prophecy speaks not only of a crisis in the church, but also of a spiritual purification that, according to many, has already begun. As the world faces natural catastrophes and global crises, it is essential that we remember Our Lady's call. Conversion and prayer are our most powerful weapons to face these difficult times. What is happening in Mexico is only an echo of what could happen in other parts of the world if we do not take these warnings seriously. The third prophecy of Fatima warned not only of natural disasters and spiritual crises, but also of political and social tribulations that would mark an era of global transformation. There, these crises are already taking shape. Rampant drug violence and corruption have left the nation in fear and hopelessness. What were once safe communities are now plagued by violence and a growing distrust of institutions. This atmosphere of uncertainty, which affects both there and the rest of the world, reflects precisely what was warned about in the Fatima apparitions. Our Lady's warning was clear. Without conversion and prayer, humanity would face dark and difficult times. What we are witnessing there is not an isolated phenomenon. it is part of a global pattern of crisis that seems to respond to a spiritual purification, a stage prior to a possible renewal. Social and political catastrophes reflect not only a structural collapse, but a bigger loss, that of the moral and spiritual values that sustain peace and justice. In Mexico, this moral collapse is evident in the way violence and corruption have penetrated almost every aspect of daily life. This deterioration is a clear sign that prophecy is unfolding, a reminder that turning away from God has direct and devastating consequences. However, the message of Fatima was not only a warning, it was also a call to hope. Our Lady's intercession, depicted in the Fatima vision as she blocks the angel's flaming sword, is a symbol that, although we face difficult times, there is still a chance for salvation. With its history rooted in the Catholic faith, it has a crucial role to play in this spiritual scenario. The apparition of Our Lady of Guadalupe in 1531, which consolidated the country as a center of Marian devotion, suggests that this country could play a pivotal role in the spiritual renewal of the world. Although facing a moral and spiritual crisis, many believe that Mexico is a spiritual battleground where the future of the Catholic faith could be decided. With devotion to the Virgin of Guadalupe and a religious tradition that remains alive despite challenges, it has the potential to lead a global spiritual awakening. However, this rebirth will not be easy or immediate. If these words resonate with you, we invite you to get more answers in the ebook available. There are still a few copies available, so don't wait too long. As the third Fatima prophecy indicated, tribulations will be an essential part of this purification process, but so will hope for a future of renewal. As natural disasters and social crises intensify around the world, Mexico seems to be in the eye of a spiritual and moral hurricane. With a history tied to the Catholic faith, the country faces challenges that many consider signs of a time of purification, as warned in the third Fatima prophecy. However, instead of succumbing to these trials, it may be destined to emerge as a leader in the spiritual renewal the world so desperately needs. The increase in natural disasters, from earthquakes to hurricanes, has left the country struggling to rebuild both physically and emotionally. But these disasters are not limited to the destruction of infrastructure. They also shake the spiritual fabric of the nation. People, when faced with devastation, look for answers beyond the earthly. In times of crisis, faith becomes a refuge for some, while for others, suffering generates doubt and leads away from belief in the divine. But Mexico, with its rich Marian tradition and devotion to the Virgin of Guadalupe, seems to be at a spiritual crossroads. The country's historic connection to Mary, especially through the apparitions at Tepeyac, has been a beacon of hope for millions. This strong devotion could be the key to its recovery, not only from physical catastrophes, but also from the moral and spiritual crisis that plagues it. In addition to natural disasters, the country faces internal problems, such as drug violence and corruption, which have weakened confidence in institutions. The lack of justice and security has generated a climate of hopelessness among the population. This combination of factors seems to align with Fatima's warnings: times of great tribulation and suffering. However, there is also an opportunity for redemption and renewal. The third Fatima prophecy, while speaking of tribulation, also offers a path to hope through conversion and prayer. With its historic role as a bastion of the Catholic faith, the country could play a crucial role in this spiritual renaissance. If it can overcome its current challenges, the country could become an example for other nations also struggling with similar crises. In this sense, what we see today is not just a cycle of destruction, but the beginning of a possible purification. The trials Mexico faces, both physically and spiritually, could be a call to return to the roots of its faith and lead a global renewal movement. Although the road is difficult, the hope for a spiritual awakening is still alive. The crisis facing the Catholic Church today may seem like the lowest point in its recent history, but if viewed from a higher perspective, it could be part of a process of purification. Over the centuries, the Church has gone through times of trial, and each of these difficulties has been a catalyst for its renewal. As described in the third Fatima prophecy, the tribulations that the Church and the world are facing may be necessary for its spiritual revitalization. As we continue to explore the impact of these prophecies, we remind you that the free ebook is just a click away. There are only a few copies left, so don't miss out. In Mexico, a country that has historically been a bastion of the Catholic faith, this crisis has not gone unnoticed. The scandals that have rocked the Church have weakened the trust of many of the faithful, and the fragmentation between the conservative and progressive sectors of the clergy has widened the divisions. Yet even in the midst of this internal conflict, the message of Fatima offers hope. A spiritual renewal is possible if the Church finds its way back to its original mission of guiding and protecting its followers. This period of testing is not limited only to ecclesiastical structures. The faithful are also being challenged to re-evaluate their faith. In times of crisis, suffering can act as a means for people to develop their spirituality. Like the image of the Pope and the martyrs facing persecution in the vision of Fatima, these difficulties can lead to a purification of the soul, both individually and collectively. Mexico, with its devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe, has a special role to play in this context. Although it faces enormous challenges, both social and spiritual, it remains a pillar of faith in Latin America. The third prophecy of Fatima reminds us that, before any renewal, there must be a period of great tribulations. As the center of this spiritual battle, the country could lead a renaissance of faith in a world increasingly distant from God. If this message makes you reflect and you feel it connects with you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Also, if you really want to support our work and help us continue creating valuable content, consider giving us a super thanks. Join this amazing community and don't miss any news. Our Lady warned of suffering and trials, but also offered a path to hope. Prayer, penance, and conversion remain the most powerful tools to change the course of humanity. As Mexico and the Church face these difficult times, the promise of spiritual renewal remains alive if one chooses the path of faith.